Hey friends, and today's Fretted Friday video is not the most happy that I've ever done. And we asked the question today, musicians, what happens after the lockdown? Coming right up. Before we get started today though, I want to give you all an update on Tuesday's video, which was the exposure of the fake ES335, the DG, in fact, the Dave Grohl 335 on that Facebook group, UK Gear Sales. And you'll be delighted to know that the user himself who posted it has voluntarily removed the post. So that's really good news. Please keep your eyes peeled and let me know if you see any other similar sorts of transgressions, because we really don't want people getting ripped off. But thanks for letting me know. Okay, so what, with this current situation that we're in, is going to happen after the lockdown? How's the current situation affecting you guys? And what's the future looking like? It's a big question. It's a big if at the moment, isn't it? In fact, in the UK, there's a Help Musicians charity that was set up, and the £5 million in funds that they've already got has run out in a week because they've had 10,000 applicants for their £500 grant. From an estimated pool of 80,000 musicians in the UK. The fund is now dry, although £900,000 further has been promised from Arts England and another 500,000 from the Royal Society for Musicians. Also, our government have helped by putting out self-employed help of up to 80% of the last 3 years' average earnings, not dividend payment, for the self-employed, which covers most people in the gig economy, but sadly a lot of that money is not going to be available until June at the earliest. So what are we supposed to do in the meantime? It's going to be a real struggle for musicians everywhere. I wonder if there's similar schemes to this musicians charity set up in the US. If you're in the USA, please let me know in the comments section down below what's being done for you guys, because I'd be really interested to know. But the big question is, what happens after? Because as a result of this current lockdown and the fact that so many businesses have had to close their doors, we're going to see many go out of business. Bars, clubs, hotels, coffee shops, even pizza outlets who are in this country doing lots of gigs at the moment. I've got a lot of musician friends who actually do one-man shows and sing and busk almost in pizza venues. What's going to happen to all of that? All of these venues are struggling to survive the crisis, and unfortunately many of them, the reality is, are not going to make it through. And I know that sounds dramatic, but it's just a fact. Now, with less venues, that means most certainly more competition for bands and musicians playing in these venues. And the venues themselves will be fairly broke and looking to recoup their money as soon as they can. So guess who's going to benefit in terms of musicians? It's going to be the established bands with a following that can bring in a lot of custom through the door and drive that revenue. But what about the rest of us? Is it just going to be a bun fight? I was just literally in the process of starting a band to get out gigging again after 2 or 3 years. And I have no clue whether or not we'll be able to get into any venues. And there'll be so many of you in exactly the same situation. So what can we do? Well, one thing will be for sure, there'll be no such thing as a guarantee anymore. So you're unlikely to get paid by a venue to come in. It's very much more going to be based on door traffic and on sales driven by your band turning up and playing. So you can pretty much guarantee that most musicians are going to end up getting paid on a cut basis in future. Now, as I've said, a lot of my friends are in the music business, particularly actually in the theatre and the arts. As you know, I do a lot of engineering work for theatre shows, and in fact my buddy Richard, who's the current MD for the London production of Hamilton, of course as soon as the theatres are open again, he'll be taken back to work, and hopefully there will be plenty of work for him. However, will people still have the money for theatre and the arts and for going out to see live music? That's a big question. Most of us have been really, really badly hit and quite hardly hit by the lockdown and by doing the right thing and social distancing. And the sad reality is that that has caused an economic problem and could actually lead to a true depression. One little light note in this and spark of hope is that the Roaring Twenties in the States did follow the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, and it seemed to drive that. So who knows, maybe there is a big bright light at the end of this tunnel after all. We'll have to wait and see. I do predict that initially, when social distancing is relaxed, that we'll probably have a period of about 6 months where things will go crazy, and it will be a big party, a huge party, and people will want to be socialising as much as they can. However, I think there might be some limitation on that, so I'm not sure how quickly that will occur, or whether it will be brought in over a period. One thing's for certain, and that is that governments who've put their hands in their pockets to bail a lot of people out and give 80% of their salary in this country will be looking to recoup that funding and that money, because the countries can't afford to carry massive national debt. So whichever way you look at it, in the end, we are going to have to pay back any aid that we're being given at the moment to help us survive through this social distancing period. So sadly, the big party may be over all too soon. The reality of this situation is that whatever you're doing now in lockdown may have to become the norm, because I think that social distancing may have to happen for some time. And so the likelihood of getting back to big packed venues full of punters watching live music is a long way off, I fear. So whatever you're doing at the moment, you may need to look at augmenting and putting further effort into developing that as a source of income. It's highly likely to become the norm. So whatever you're doing, if it's online lessons and teaching, remote session work perhaps, scoring and recording for ads and stock music libraries, and all too often, unfortunately, a second job for a lot of us musicians, maybe looking for other ways to earn income online. So it may be that we have to be innovative. I'd be really interested to hear your ideas and what you've done so far and what you might do in future in terms of riding out this crisis. I'm really sorry that this video is not very positive, but I always feel that forewarned is forearmed, and I think all of us need to be considering a new way of life and looking for alternatives. And of course, we all have to spare a thought for those who are getting sick and those who are sadly losing loved ones and those that are losing their lives through this. That's huge, and our struggles pale into insignificance when it comes to loss of life and losing family members and friends. So my thoughts are with anybody out there who has suffered. I know this video isn't one that's likely to get a lot of thumbs up, but please do give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the concept. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. As always, it really can't hurt to subscribe, and if you do, don't forget to click the bell icon and make sure on your page that you have notification settings on, because Google is a funny beast and YouTube these days, and if you haven't got that, most of my views are not coming from subscribers, they're coming from browsing at the moment, and I'd like to turn that around. So if you are a subscriber, make sure you've got those settings right so that you get notified of all my videos. I'll be back with the very best content I can really soon, but in the meantime, as always, please stay safe and take good care.